Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host Gershwan and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the planets of the Imperium as we get into the planet of Armageddon. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day, and if you have any suggestions, please comment down below. Now with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the planet of Armageddon. Armageddon is an Imperial hive world located 10,000 light-years to the galactic northeast of Terra, in the Segmentum Solar, and was the site of several of the greatest conflicts ever fought by the Imperium of Man, including the Second and Third War of Armageddon against the massive Orc Wall of Warlord Godskull Thraka. Thousands of standard years of industrial output has reduced the surface of Armageddon to a barren wasteland and polluted ocean. Humans can only survive within the artificial environments of the world's hive cities, the massive arcology-like structures that stand several kilometers tall. The world of Armageddon is the fourth in its star systems of 10 planets, and is the industrial hub of both the Armageddon subsector and the greater region of the surrounding Armageddon sector. Many worlds within a several light-year radius of Armageddon rely on it for its large industrial output. There are three main landmasses on Armageddon. Most human life is located on the main continent, which is split into two parts, Armageddon Prime and Armageddon Secundus, separated by a thick band of jungle, known simply as the Equatorial Jungle. They each had their role in the War of Armageddon, but the majority of the fighting took place on the main continent. Most of the information presented here on Armageddon's geography will be limited to that provided by the area given over to fighting during the Third War of Armageddon. The bulk of the subcontinents of Armageddon Prime and Secundus are covered in ash wastes, the after effect of many millennia of industrial pollution. Several hive cities house the planet's human populations and the industry of Armageddon. These include Tempestora, Deathmire, and Vulcanus on Armageddon Prime, and Infernus, Hades, Archon, Helm's Reach, and Tartarus on Armageddon Secundus. To the north of Armageddon Prime and Secundus are the Fire Wastes, which are home to the mining and resource-gathering industries that support the Hive City's factories. This is an extremely arid region, which has been stripped mined far beyond the point that it can maintain any living ecosystem. To the south of the main continent lies the ice-covered Deadlands. The polluted ice here is melted and heavily purified to provide a source of drinking water to the inhabitants of Armageddon hive cities. Armageddon Prime is the western half of the main Armageddon continent, joined to Armageddon Secundus through the Equatorial Jungle. It has three large hive cities, including Hive Tempestora, Hive Deathmire, and Hive Vulcanus, with the possibility of a fourth, long-destroyed hive city in the plains of Anthrand, which may possibly have been Hive Anthrand or Hive Blackfire. The main feature of Hive Tempestora is the docks and pipelines from the Fire Wastes. There is also an Orc submersible graveyard, from which the Orcs launched their attack on Tempestora, and subsequently overran it. Also to the north is some ash wastelands created from the waste from Tempestora East Factory Complex, the Morpheus Factory Complex, the Catrin Water Purification Plant, or the Morpheus River. There is one Orc drop site located to the southeast. Finally, the Morphean line of Imperial defenses faces inward in order to contain the Orcs within the hive, and eventually launch an Imperial attack on Tempestora with the intention of taking it back. Hive Deathmire is the northern central area of the region, and the most prominent feature of the Equatorial Jungle in the southwest. The Hecate Mountains in the north, and the Death Ridge in the south, where the Orcs can link with the Pharaoh Orcs from the Equatorial Jungle and launch assault on the actual hive. There are two Orc rock drop sites far to the west, the Phlegenthin Bridge also to the west, and the River Insane Tunnel in the center of the region, as well as a motorway running throughout. In the Hecate Mountains is the Eyes of the Emperor Observatory, watching over a vast area of Armageddon Prime for Orc troop movement, and which provides vital intelligence to Imperial forces. It was critical in the destruction of the Blackfire tribe by observing Orc mobilization in the plains of Anthran. Mire Anchorage is another one of the only deep water areas available for the gigantic Giga-Takers to arrive with the loss of the Diablo's Cove. Although it is badly infected by orcs, it is defended by a Stormlord Space Marine chapter and the Armageddon Orc Hunters. Finally, the vast Tempestor Victorum line guards a large area from the Hecate Mountains to the equatorial jungles to protect the south and west flanks of Hive Deathmire. It takes its name from the two groups of titans stationed there, Legio Tempestor and Legio Victorum, which have both pounded the orcs with unrelenting fire from the many bunkers and siege positions. The Hive Volcanis region is on the far western edge of Armageddon Prime. Its two most obvious features are the gigantic mountain ranges to the south and the many islands to the west. The Volcanis Mountains and Volcanis Ridge cover most of the southern half of the area, and atop larger mountains is the Volcanis Mountain Space Defense Fortress, which was overrun by the orcs from the rock drop site to the east. The easiest pass through the mountains is the Manahind Gap, named after the Iron Skull's Titan Legion, Princip Curtin Manaheim, a hero of the Second War of Armageddon. Hive Volcanis itself occupies the central area of Armageddon Prime, with its motorways leading to the Volcanin Bridge. In the west, on a number of islands, is the Volcanis Offshore Defense, which patrols the rivers and waterways leading up to Volcanis Hive. Also, the Nemesis Island Penal Facility is located nearby, holding the worst criminals from the hives of Armageddon Prime. Armageddon Secundus is the eastern half of the main Armageddon continent, joined to Armageddon Prime by the equatorial jungle. It has 5 large hives, including Hive Helmsreach, Hive Infernus, Hive Hades, and Hive Archeon and Hive Tartarus, although Hades' hive was destroyed in an orbital bombardment near the beginning of the Third War of Armageddon. Hive Hellsreach is dominated by the hive itself, as well as Balboa Mountains to the east, overlooking Grendel's Lock, a huge dock which has been mostly overrun by the orcs. Further to the southeast is the Valdez Alpha offshore oil platform, providing vital resources to the factories of Armageddon. To the south is the Valhaskin arteries, which pump water from the Deadlands into the southern hives. The Ironside shipyard are also on the south coast, where ships are built and repaired, but they will quickly be overrun by the orcs. There is one orc rock drop site, as well as Hell's Highway and the Batraxian Barrier, with a gigantic weapon battery called Lethal Lucy. Also part of Helmlock Cordon is located to the northeast, containing many Imperial forces after the fall of Hive Archon. Also to the northwest is the Styges Bridge, crossing the river Styges. The Hive Infernus region is dominated by 2 mountain ranges, the Palladus Mountains and the Diablo Mountains, with Orc Mountain located at the peak of Diablo Mountain. Hive Infernus is located at the center of the region and is linked with the Northern Motorway and Styges Bridge to the Hive Helmsreach area. The Diablo's Forge complex, located to the east of the Hive, saw the first action with the orcs and was the site of a battle between the orcs and the Titan Legion Crucius. 6 titans and 8 orc gargants were destroyed, but in the process, the battle practically destroyed the entire Forge complex. Diablo's Cove had become the center of the orc fighting to prevent resources from reaching the Hive, and as such, many Giga-Takers have been destroyed in the process. The equatorial jungle to the east is met by a large area of ash wastes from the nearby factories, and is very close to the Crinan Canal, which allows ships to move between the boiling sea and the Tempest Ocean, without having to sail all the way around the west end of the main Armageddon landmass. To the south is the Infernus South Forge complex, which produces many chimeras and a vast amount of ordnances for the defenders of Hive Infernus. The Stygenin bulwark is located to the east of the Infernus South Forge complex, and is there to protect it from the orcs hiding in the Palladus Mountains, with huge areas of fortification and bombardment points spreading along its length. Hades' Hive is a blasted area, the entire Hive city itself destroyed early on in the Third War of Armageddon, by an orbital bombardment of asteroids in vengeance for the Hive's victory over the Orcs in the Second War of Armageddon, where Hades' Hive was the linchpin in defeating the Orcs by holding up so many that their offensive stalled. To the southwest is the Diablo Mountains and the Orc Mountains. To the east is the Humandize Bridge that links to the main motorway and passes the Avernus Forge complex, which produces vast amounts of vehicles and ordnance for the war efforts. It was partially destroyed when shards broke off from the Orc asteroids when they bombarded the Hive City. The Orc Rock drop site is located close to the motorway in the south, and the majority of the area is covered in ash waste from the nearby industry. In the northwest, the Yarick's Hope Harbor is a center for Imperial resistance, but was largely destroyed. However, small attack craft can be launched from there to defend the pipelines across the boiling sea. Hive Archon is far to the east of Armageddon Secundus, but is covered in vast areas of ash wastes from the Archon East and West factories and the Humandize Minotaurum factory complex, with motorways leading to Hades' Hive and Hive Tartarus. There are 2 Orc Rock drop sites, with the Archon Hive in between both. To the south, the Hemlock River Tunnel runs under the Hemlock River, and to the north was the Von Straub Memorial Arc, recently changed to the image of Hermann von Straub throughout the whole arc. To the southwest is the Hemlock Cordon, which escapees from Hive Archon have set up fortifications. The Hive has fallen to the Orcs, but only through the treachery of Hermann von Straub when he handed control over to them. Hive Tartarus is in the southeast of Armageddon Secundus, and the Hive itself is at the center, surrounded and besieged constantly with little hope of survival. The Tartarus West Factory, Hemlock Factory Complex, and Skeltius Factory Complex contribute to the ash wastes to the east, and 1 Orc Rock overlooks the entire area of the northeast. There is 1 motorway north to Hive Archon and 1 pipeline south to the Deadlands to bring fresh water to the Hive City. The Hemlock Cordon is also partially in this area, where survivors from Hive Archon have gathered. Clane's Stronghold was formed when units of defenders marched to Hive Infernus, but were quickly stopped by an Orc force and forced to build defenses in that area, which are now constantly pounded by Orc artillery. The Equatorial Jungle is the region between Armageddon Secundus and Armageddon Prime, and consists mainly of large forested areas. It is bridged by a long, straight motorway and leads to the Minos Bridge, which crosses the Minos River into Armageddon Secundus. The motorway also passes through Cerbera Base, the home of the unit of the Imperial Guard known as the Armageddon Orc Hunters, from which they launched their assaults on the feral orcs within the jungle. These orcs were left over after the first orc invasion during the Second War of Armageddon, and have reverted to a feral state. There is also the ruins of the Wolf Outpost, which was destroyed by its base commander, activating the self-destruct mechanism when it was overrun by orcs. It flattened the surrounding 40 miles of jungle, but also killed every single attacking orc. To the north is Plateau Greenskin, the home of the largest concentration of feral orcs. Due to its high position and difficult access routes, it has yet to be fully cleared of greenskins. To the south of this plateau is an uninhabited region surrounding an ancient artifact of unknown origin. Although it looks Necron in design, anyone who goes near the object is driven insane and returns as a gibbering husk of the former self. Far to the south is Angron's Monolith, a chaotic artifact that has diseased the surrounding area with its emanation of warp power, and is now off-limit. Somehow, it has resisted all attempts at its destruction. It appears to be linked to the warp, and may have served as a warp portal for demon assaults on real space, but its true purpose is unknown. Finally, to the far southeast are the Plague Marshes, where other warbands of feral orcs thrive. Unfortunately, hundreds of Imperial Guardsmen died of plague and diseases caused by the giant insects that inhabit the area, preventing effective sweeps of the marshes, even though each guardman serving in the area is given special antiviral drugs and antibiotics to counteract the pathogens. The Fire Wastes are located in the far north of Armageddon, where one would expect a cold region of the polar north, possibly indicating that it is not in fact the furthest northerly region on the planet, and perhaps it is a region that crosses the equator of the world instead. Regardless of its position, it is the location of many of the ore mines that supply the main settled Armageddon regions with resources in order to create the industry and weapons the world needs to survive. The vast Soraya Rock Mountains cover most of the northern region of the Fire Wastes. They are burning volcanic mountains where not a breath of air stirs. It is from here that the river Hesperosa springs, which is dammed by the Qualback Spur Hydroelectric Dam, which provides power to the Fire Wastes mining operations. The dam also splits the river into two. There is a pass through the Soraya Rock Range, named the Kunanga Creek Canyon, which used to be the fast-flowing river but has since dried up and turned into a hot desert-like pass whose heat and other hazards can kill even the best prepared travelers. The Black Lung tar pits are another region of the inhospitable terrain, although these pits have been mined for thousands of years, and the ore is used in the industrial process of the main Armageddon continent. Another river is the Cerestus River, which goes around the Black Lung tar pit and passes the Cerratus River refinery and the Cerratus River mineral storage facility and exits into the boiling sea via the Batani Bay Penal Colony. The sea itself also contains the Abaribian oil platform, vital for the functioning of the weapons manufacturers on the mainland. The main port is named the Fire Harbor and is home to hundreds of miles of docks and rigging equipment. There is also another ore mine off the main Fire Waste map area, far to the east. There used to be an undersea pipeline just off the map to the west, but that has since been destroyed when the other end of the pipeline was captured by the orcs. The small frozen continent, called the Deadlands, is split into two areas, the Deadlands proper and the Netheria Peninsula. The entire continent is far enough to the south that it is completely covered by ice, and as such is used primarily as a water creation and purification center. It was attacked with unexpectedly heavy forces by the orcs. The Deadlands are the westernmost of the two regions on the continent. It contains one of the two main water processing plants, and this is broken down into St. Capelline Water Processing Plant and the minor Phaedra River Water Processing Plant. The water is then pumped through the overland pipes to the Lemaire Channel Watering Pump Station, which stores the then pumped water through the undersea pipes to both Hive Hellsreach and Hive Tartarus. There is also the Dantes Canyon Oil Drilling Station, which supplies oil to the south of the main Armageddon continent. The Valdez Gamma Oil Platform also provides oil and is located off the northeast coast of the Deadlands. Another oil processing site is the Yarrick Point Oil Drilling Station, located far to the west. Finally, there is the Zebra Ice Station Defense Fortress, which protects the entire region from the orbital attacks and provides a vital bastion of strength to the defenders of the region. There are two Orc Rock landing sites as well as an Orc submersible shipyard located to the north. These produce the huge giga-takers that the Orcs use to assault the Hive cities on the south coast of Armageddon's main continent. The Netheria Peninsula is located far to the east of the main Deadland region and contains the other major water processing sites. It has 4 processing plants, named the Eagle River Water Processing Plant as it is situated on the polluted Eagle River, the Migra Rock Water Processing Plant, the Resolute Bay Water Processing Plant, which technically purifies the water produced by the Magaria Rock, and the Lartis Valley Water Processing Plant, which is situated in the Lartis River Valley. These feed into the Netheria Peninsula Water Pumping Station through overland pipes, and then this water continues on using oversea pipelines to the main continent of Armageddon. There is also the Valdez Omega Oil Platform, which provides oil to Armageddon, as well as the McCreed Cape Research Facility, which contains many captured orcs, sent there to be studied by the Adeptus Mechanicus tech priests. To the north is Orwick Airfield, a haven for Orc fighters to the south. Also, the SS Ice Rock is located close to Orwick, a giant iceberg housing thousands of orcs that requires an engine big enough to move it across the ocean to assault Armageddon. There is also one Orc rock drop site massacre to the west. Finally, there is an Imperial emplacement, OC 1867 Armageddon Annie gun battery emplacement, which would couple with emplacements in SSB 1776 Lethal Lucy near Hive Hell's Reach. They serve to defend the south against orbital bombardment, from which could destroy the undersea pipelines. It also forms a bastion of defense power, enough to hold the orcs back long enough for Imperial reinforcements to arrive. Phoenix Island is a large mining area similar to the Fire Wastes, in that it is a mining, refinery, and storage facility. It has 2 large docks, as well as a spaceport, used to house Space Marine Thunderbolters and Imperial Navy Furies. The main mine is known as the Nadal Gorge ore mine, and is vital to the operations of Armageddon. Ancient machinery works in toxic conditions, as the mine has been in operation for thousands of years. The ore is then shipped to Valkyrie Bay Refinery, which produces the chemicals and materials required to continue the war on Armageddon. These are then shipped, in turn, to the Phoenix Island Mineral Storage Facility in the southeast of the island. The items are then shipped on an either Jabri Ku dock or the Ibis Reef Harbor for shipping to the rest of Armageddon. The spaceports presented on Phoenix Island is named Victorious, and is home to many of the Imperial Navy's Thunderbolt and Fury fighter squadrons, as well as serving as an Imperial stronghold against the Orc forces. To the northeast is the Heliopolis Bridge, a vital connection to the north and the Fire Waste region. Unfortunately, Orc rocks landed directly in the path of this bridge and blockaded, preventing Imperial land forces from accessing the island, completely cutting it off from the reinforcement. And those were 40 facts on the planet of Armageddon. I hope you guys are enjoying the compilation videos. More new videos to come. And if you have any suggestions, please comment down below. This was Gershwan with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.